3001, ISO 40001, and also ISO 45001. These three are internationally recognized management system standards focused on quality, environmental management, and occupational safety and health management. For ISO 9001, its more focus sets for quality management. It emphasizes customer satisfaction, process improvement, and the delivery of consistent and high quality of product or services. For ISO 40001, is for providing guideline for environmental management system. Its aims is to help organizations to minimize the environmental impact, comply with applicable regulation, and also continually improve their environmental performance. And after that, for ISO 45001, it's more focused on occupational safety and health management system. Its objective is to help the organization provide a safe and healthy work environment, prevent work injuries, and comply with relevant legal requirements. Next, we're gonna go for the clause for context of organization. For ISO 9001, the organization required to determine the external and internal issue that can affect their ability to achieve quality objective. So, they must identify the interested party and their requirement and define the scope of quality management system. While for ISO 40001, the organization is to identify the internal and external issue related to environmental performance. This also include the understanding of the needs and expectation of interested party and determine the scope of environmental management system. And lastly, for ISO 45001, the organization must identify the internal and external issue that could affect the ability to manage occupational safety and health risk effectively. These include their need of understanding and expectation for the interested party and also determine the scope of occupational safety and health management system. Now, we go into the comparison. For the similarities, all three of them have the organization to determine their context of standards. And the next one is they have to emphasize the understanding needs and expectation from the interested party. And lastly, each scope of each standard need to be defined. And next is the differences. They all have specific focus area of standards like ISO 9001 is more focused for quality management. ISO 45001 is more to environmental management system. And lastly, the ISO 45001 is more to occupational safety and health management system. Next one, the requirement of each standards are distinct and tailored to respective management system. And lastly, for the differences is their goals and performance indicator are based on objective of each standard that have been set by their organization. To the next presenter. My name is Ni Akmal Iskandar bin Muazmi. Today 2023 502063. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aisyah Nur Jaslida binti Nur Hisham. My matrix number is 2023-385611. And for today, I will present to you about the comparison between the three management system for clause 5, which is leadership. So for clause 4.1, which is leadership and commitment for ISO 45001, ISO 90001, and ISO 14001 are just the same since it's just about the top management need to demonstrate leadership and commitment and to ensure the organization follows the objectives and policy, except there's some addition in ISO 45001, which says that top management need to take responsibility to supervise and take prevention actions related with injury and ill during in the workplace. As for clause 4.5.2, All of them are just the same, which is the policy must be established and communicated. However, for ISO 45001, there's some addition, which is it should follow the legal requirement and other requirement too. Moving on to the clause 4.3, which is organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. The contexts are also basically similar as well. Only Only ISO 45001 have clause 4.5, which is about the consultation and participation of the workers, while ISO 90001 and ISO 14001 don't have this clause. So let's move on to clause 6, which is planning. These three management systems have the same context for clause 6.1.1, which is the general requirements. As for the continual subclauses, they have similar context as well, especially at the planning action part and to determine the identification of hazard for 45001, risk and opportunities in ISO 90001, and environmental aspects and impacts for ISO 14001. However, only ISO 14001 and ISO 45001 have the subclause that requires them to comply with the requirements, which is the legal requirements and other requirements. Moving on to the objectives, these three management systems actually have similar context as well. As for subclause 6.2.2, the three also have the same context, and only ISO 90001 have subclause 6.3, which is the planning of changes. So that's all.
Hello, my name is Rasila Bintang and I'm a Sambangs from AS2291B. My matrix number is 2023165523. Moving on to the next clause. Clause 7 of ISO 14001, ISO 9001, and ISO 45001 share some similarities, but they also have some notable differences. In ISO 14001, Clause 7 focuses on the environmental management system support. Its purpose is to ensure that all necessary resources, roles, responsibilities, and authorities are established and the requirements are communicated throughout the organization. The clause requires the organization to determine and provide resources needed for the establishment, implementation, maintenance, and improvement of the environmental management system. ISO 9001 Clause 7 covers support too, but the focus is on support for product realization. It includes requirement for competence, awareness, communications, and documented information. Organization must determine the necessary competence for personnel performing works that affect product quality and ensure that everyone has the necessary training and education. ISO 45001 Clause 7 details support for the occupational health and safety management system. It requires an organization to provide resources and train personnel to manage risks that could prevent injuries and ill health. The clause requires an organization to determine and provide resources needed for the establishment, implementation, maintenance, and improvement of the occupational health and safety management system. Overall, Clause 7 of ISO 14001, ISO 9001, and ISO 45001 share the common thread of support, but they focus on different aspects of the organization's operation. ISO 14001 emphasizes the environmental aspect, ISO 9001 emphasizes product realization, and ISO 45001 emphasizes occupational health and safety. Next is Clause 8. Clause 8 of ISO 14001, ISO 9001, and ISO 45001 all cover different aspects of planning and implementation, but are tailored to meet the requirements of their respective management system standards. ISO 14001 Clause 8 focuses on the operation of the environmental management system. The clause requires organizations to plan, implement, and control their processes to meet the EMS requirements, including establishing operational control necessary to maintain the EMS effectiveness. The clause requires organization to identify and address emergency situations that impact the environment. ISO 9001 Clause 8 focuses on Operation 2, but specifically in the planning, implementation, and control of processes related to product or service delivery or creation. It requires organizations to determine, plan, control, and monitor all activities to ensure that products and services meet customers' requirements. The clause demands organizations to determine quality objectives and ensure they are measurable, consistent with quality policy, and aligned with the organization's content. ISO 45001 Clause 8 focuses on operation, but with an emphasis of the prevention of injury and ill health. It requires organizations to establish, implement, and maintain process for identifying hazard, assessing risk, and determining and implementing effective control. The clause demands the organization establish procedures related to emergency preparedness and response. Although the focus area for Clause 8 differ across three management systems, the three clauses' overall intentions revolve around the planning, implementation, and controls of process to achieve their specific outcome.
I am Nur Aisyah binti Muhammad Noor with my metric number 2023380111. We'll be talking about Class 9 and Class 10. In Class 9, which is Performance Evaluation, ISO 45001, ISO 9001, and ISO 14001 have similarities in subclass 9.1, Monitoring, Measurement, Analysis, and Evaluation, which in 9.1.1, General, the organization shall monitor, measure, analyze, and evaluate its environmental performance, ensuring valid results through appropriate methods, conducting regular monitoring and measurement, and analyzing the results. The organization must retain documented evidence for effective environmental management. There are differences in subclause 9.1.2, which is evaluation compliance. For ISO 45001, the organization shall establish, implement, maintain process for evaluating compliance with legal requirements and other requirements. In ISO 9001, the organization shall monitor customers' perception of the degree to which their needs and expectations have been fulfilled. The organization shall determine the methods for obtaining, monitoring, and reviewing this information, while in ISO 14001, the organization shall establish, implement, and maintain processes needed to evaluate fulfillment of its compliance obligation. For subclause 9.1.3, analysis and evaluation only exists in ISO 9001, where the organization shall analyze and evaluate appropriate data and information arising from monitoring and measurement. Next, moving on to subclause 9.2, internal audit. These three standards have similar content in 9.2.1 general, which our organization shall conduct internal audits to ensure OSH management system conforms to requirements, meet international standard requirements, and is effectively implemented and maintained. And also subclause 9.2.2, internal audit program, which include plan, establish, implement, and maintain audit programs, considering processes, results, and previous audits. It also defines audit criteria, select auditors, conduct audits, ensure impartiality, report results to relevant managers, and retain documented information. In ISO 45001, subclause 9.3, management review, said that the management shall review the organization OSH management system at planned interval to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. While in ISO 9001, the management shall review the organization's quality management system at planned interval to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, effectiveness, and alignment with the strategic direction of the organization. For ISO 14001, the management shall review the organization OSH management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. Only in ISO 9001 have subclause 9.3.3, which management output review. These include improvements, change to quality management system and resource needs with documented information for evidence. Moving on to clause 10, which is improvement, there are differences in subclause 10.1 general for each standards. In ISO 45001, organizations shall determine the opportunities for improvement and implement necessary action to achieve the intended outcomes of its OSH management system. While in ISO 9001, organizations shall determine opportunities for improvement and implement necessary action to meet customer requirements and enhance customer satisfaction. And for ISO 14001, organizations shall determine opportunities for improvement and implement necessary action to achieve the intended outcomes of its environmental management system. Next, even though there is difference subclause 10.2 in ISO 45001 and ISO 9001 with 14001, the main content under this subclause is similar, which is an organization must respond promptly to accidents or non-conformities, takes corrective action, address consequences, and evaluate the cause to prevent repeating the issue. This includes investigating, determining causes, and identifying similar accidents or non-conformities. But in ISO 45001, review OSH risk assessment, implement necessary actions, assess hazards, evaluate effectiveness, and make necessary changes to management systems. Corrective action shall be appropriate to the effects or potential effects of incidents or non-conformities encountered. While in ISO 9001, it stated that implement any action needed, review the effectiveness of any corrective action taken, update risks and opportunities determined during planning if necessary, make changes to the quality management system if necessary, so that corrective action shall be appropriate to the effects of the non-conformities encountered. For ISO 14001, it contains of implement any action needed, review the effectiveness of any corrective action taken, make changes to the environmental management system if necessary. Corrective action shall be appropriate to the significance of the effects of the non-conformities encountered, including environmental impacts. For subclause 10.3, which is continual improvement, there are differences in each standard. In ISO 45001, it stated that the organization shall continually improve the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the OSH management system. While in ISO 9001, the organization shall continually improve the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the quality management system. And for ISO 14001, the organization shall continually improve the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the environmental management system to enhance environmental performance.